Thank you. Lady there.
Hi, my name's Charlotte Simpson. I'm a freelance radio producer. I'd like to address this largely to Professor Dawkins, and I would like to first of all say you do make debates so much more exciting. Your presence does make them stimulating, but I would like to disagree with you. You've said that 10% of parents in your people in your survey said they got their values from parents, and yet you've promoted...
10% got their values from religion.
Sorry, but you cited what percentage got their values from their parents.
25.
So a higher percentage. But you're promoting, I think, a rather totalitarian idea where parents can't teach their children to be Keynesian if they want to, can't teach their children to be socialist if they want to. I'm a parent. I will teach my child values. Where else is she to get my values? If I don't share them with her, surely it's my role as a parent to share what I believe. I teach her not to be homophobic. I teach her to be right on. I want her to read The Guardian and not the Mail, and that's just my right as a parent to share my views. And I want her to go out and, she doesn't have to follow what I say. She doesn't have to declare herself a Guardian reading 2-year-old, although she is very advanced. I'd be proud if she did.
Visitors into schools are a tremendous resource. Now, this is where it comes in, you see. About 100 years ago, I used to be an RE teacher, and I remember inviting in a Muslim parent, and he came. He was an engineer. He came with sheaves of notes. It was tons of notes, and I realised I'd made a mistake because these kids were not going to enjoy this. So I said to him, "Look, can you remember what you did when you were 11?" See, I don't know whether he'd been labelled a Muslim or whether he'd self-identified as a Muslim in Jaffa, but he said, "I'll tell you what I can remember. Yes, I'll talk about that." And it was great because he said, "I lived in this very hot country. There were orange trees around, and Ramadan, we tried to keep the fast, but as the sun got hotter, we just couldn't. Eventually, up the tree, my brothers and I went, we sank our teeth into the oranges." I think the kids learned quite a lot about Islam from that, and he was not a qualified teacher, but he could come in and he could help. Actually, I think Richard will be a tremendous visitor to schools, but he would need good chairmanship, as we've had to see.
And yes, there is a problem with secondary schools, not with primary, because I think your primary schools are in the most disadvantaged areas and have actually reached out into the community. You may have a shortage of places for the Catholic community, but they are a bit exclusive. And Charles and I did, both of us having done education, we did struggle with this. And I came to the conclusion, and I'm sure Charles did, was that having watched Napoleon and then Hitler, we weren't going to open a Russian front up with the churches, so you got away with it.
I roughly recall that conversation.
Not all branches of all religions have discriminated against women, and I now preside as the senior rabbi at West London Synagogue, where we have 3 female rabbis and 1 openly gay male rabbi, and that's the team. Our student rabbi is male and straight. We don't know what to do with him, really. Why have the French forbidden the public wearing of religious symbols? It doesn't, in any real sense, make sense to me. And I completely agree with you, Bishop, about British Airways, and I very much hope, and it will be very interesting to see what does happen in the European in Court of Human Rights. I very much hope that is going to be, the Ueda case will be re-examined, and I hope that they will take a different view. It does seem to me there's an issue about reasonableness. If Mrs. Ueda was to wear an absolutely enormous socking great cross that was kind of, waved in front of people as they check, like yours, like yours. Yeah.
I can illustrate this with Charles here on my left. When we began this series, Charles used to introduce himself to people by saying, "I'm not a man of faith." And I always said, "Charles, you can't say that because you're a man of profound faith." Charles believes in social amelioration through political effort, which is a very strenuous and hard thing to believe in, harder than the virgin birth, you might say.
Firstly, Akhil, Akhil's done us a great favour this evening because he's from Bolton and he supports Bolton Football Club, who are playing Tottenham, and he always goes to watch them. But today he said no, he'd come and be with us, so we really appreciate it, Akhil. It's a tremendous
pray
thing.
for victory, yeah.
And he's just said we can all pray for victory. Well, I can name the supporters of a number of other teams who won't be praying for Bolton's victory tonight, because it's a very hard-fought battle down there at the bottom of the Premiership, which I'm glad Norwich currently doesn't occupy.
To quote the great Rupert Murdoch, this may well be the most humble day of my life.
Nobody has a right to be in the newspapers, or nobody has a right to be on radio or television. You have to compete. And the only way to compete is to have things that sell. I mean, one organisation once asked me about how we've got this fantastic, 3-day seminar, etc., and this is happening, that's happening. And I looked at them and I said, you know what you want to do? Build the world's largest falafel. And they said, why? I said, that's the only way you're going to get on. And then they looked at me and I said, no, I'm being serious. Do something like the world's largest falafel, the world's largest kebab or something. It was a Middle Eastern organisation, obviously you guess now. And I said, because that's the only way you're going to interest a newspaper or a television news station to come anywhere near your event.
Yes, I went to a divorce ceremony where it featured a genuine escapologist getting out of a straitjacket. Not sure I should say too much more on that subject.
Jeremy Paxman scornfully asked you whether you prayed with George Bush. But why would it have been wrong if you had? Wouldn't it have been a good thing? Or perhaps you did pray. Did you pray with him, in fact?
It wouldn't have been... It wouldn't have been a wrong thing, it's just that it didn't happen. Which I'm sure as a journalist you understand the distinction.
Do it next time. Touche.
To the gentleman at the back with slightly bald there. So, sorry, it's very rude. The distinguished, that's right, just there. Distinguished-looking gentleman there, and then to the lady with